For viewers across Africa and the rest of the world, welcome to Continental Prime here on News Central Television, reaching you live from Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos. I'm Sulaiman Aleda. The headlines for this are: angry mob sets police station ablaze in Nigeria's northern state of Niger. 12 miners die in makeshift gold mine north of the Democratic Republic of Congo. African scientists call for improved surveillance in the fight against coronavirus on the continent. Details shortly. We'll begin in Nigeria, where it's been 2 days since the Chief of Army Staff and 10 others were buried after being killed on board a military aircraft traveling from Abuja to Kaduna. But the fallout of the burial has been the absence of President Muhammadu Buhari and his deputy Yemi Osinbajo at the ceremony. Ijoma Esehalaye takes a look at this trend and the implications.
It's indeed a mourning period for Nigeria, as the nation was on Friday thrown into a state of bereavement when its 21st Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Attahiru, along with 6 senior officers and 4 crew members, perished on board Nigerian Air Force King Air 350 from Abuja to Kaduna.
For to this end, Christ died and lived again, that he may be the Lord both of the dead and of the living.
The late Army Chief and others were buried less than 24 hours after the accident, and the absence of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Muhammadu Buhari, at the funeral has generated public condemnation.
Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me.
Although the President was represented by the Minister of Defense.
They will surely be missed. This irreparable loss is indeed a tragedy to our dear nation. Our dear country has no doubt lost the true rare gems of officers and men. We must therefore do all that we can to honor them even in death by upholding the virtues which they firmly demonstrated during the course of their career.
Recently, the army has had a constant onslaught against terrorists in the northeast, even as the leaders of Boko Haram and ISWAP engaged themselves in deadly gun battle, leading to the purported death of Shekau, the leader of the dreaded Boko Haram.
The armed forces of Nigeria remain undaunted. We are unmovable. The war against insecurity must be won. Truly must be won. All we ask of you is to keep praying for us. Remember the families of our fallen heroes. Remember, it is love for country.
Nigerians have been asking why the President and other senior members of his cabinet were not present at the burial of the late Attahiru and 10 others. A security expert, Kabir Adamu, offers an insight into this.
There has been a lot of, criticisms regarding that. A lot of people have pointed to the fact that neither himself nor the Vice President attended. Now, from my own side, I will look at it from 2 angles. The legal angle, the constitutional angle, and then, of course, the moral angle. So suffice to say that there is no constitutional obligation on the side of the President, but there is a moral obligation, and that moral obligation will be tempered by the security clearance that the President will be given or may not be given to attend such a function.
Federal government in Nigeria is expected to have a new leadership for the army in the coming days.
Well, joining me on the news tonight to shed more light on this development is a security expert, retired Colonel Francis Okosun. Good to have you join me, Colonel Okosun. Now, the office of the Chief of Army Staff cannot remain vacant. How soon must a replacement be announced?
Thank you, Sulai. I think The appointment of the chief is the prerogative of the president. I imagine that because of the exigencies of the times, I imagine that because of the requirement for us to have effective command and control, the appointment of a new chief will be done as soon as is possible, as soon as is practicable. Bear in mind, too, that there are other factors that should be considered. This chap's just passed a little over 2 days ago, 3 days ago. It's still so sore. People are grieving, people are mourning. The entire army is mourning. So I think there will be these sensibilities to recognize and acknowledge before an announcement is made.
Well, I'm excited when I speak with former military officers. Earlier on Village Square Africa, we had AVM Gbadebo. He said, well, as soon as possible, there's nothing called a vacuum in the military, play when it comes to the fight against insurgency. Now, what are the implications if there will be any delay to the fight against insurgency in Nigeria?
Let me make this clear. Yes, the Chief of Army Staff has passed, but the commanders are on ground. The fighting elements are there in position. The operation orders have not been revoked, they've not been reversed, they've not been toned down. The directive from higher headquarters remain. If there are instructions, they're still being followed. Guidelines were laid down and they have been activated and they will be. They'll be pursued to their logical conclusion. Now, what Admiral Wrong, what Air Commodore Gbadebo has, what Air Vice Marshal Gbadebo was referring to was vacuum that will be occasioned by an unduly long period of absence of a chief. The vacuum he was talking about is one that will become apparent if we stretch the appointment of a chief, the timeline, stretch it unduly too long. But I can assure you that if the army that I served in is the same as we have today, the troops are there in their trenches, the commanders are on ground, the respective GOCs are there, and it's business as usual, if you would call it so.
Well, is that an indication of where the president may likely pull his next chief of army staff from?
Yeah, that would be a guess I cannot hazard. But I can also say that there are senior officers, there's a pool of senior officers from where the president is at liberty to choose from. There are seasoned and qualified officers. There are officers of his peers, officers of his course, officers below his course. It will be the president's prerogative to determine or decide where to get these chaps from.
Well, retired Colonel, of course, many thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you so much, Sulai.
Well, still talking security in Nigeria, an angry mob has touched Gwaraka police station over the shooting of a protesting youth in the community. Now, the victim was shot dead after youth took to the streets to protest the kidnap of 15 persons by bandits. They say the incident of kidnapping has become one too many despite repeated pleas for government intervention. Our correspondent Amadi Uyi now reports.
The remains of the police station spoke volumes of the incidents that happened earlier on. Charred remains of motor vehicles seized by the police, broken glasses, and even some parts of the roof still in flames. An entry into the station revealed the amount of devastation left by the protesting mob, as we were greeted by ashes, torn files, and smoke. The once busy police station was now empty, with children left to scavenge anything of value not consumed by the fire. This is supposed to be one of the most protected places in Gwaraka community, the community police station. But as you can see from behind me, it's been touched by an angry mob. They say if the police cannot protect them from bandits and kidnappers, there's no use for the police station to remain in the community. With the perimeter fence gone, the police gone, security in Guaraka community is definitely now on suspension. I'm standing with one of the residents of this community, Abdulrazak Usman, who witnessed the whole drama that played out earlier today. Now, Abdulrazak, can you tell us what really happened?
This morning, we hear about for Gauraka police station. Algongboko, where they carry about 20 people, kidnapper. So they come in for the policeman. And then the police, they try to go the place. They don't see anybody, they come back. When they come back, later, they say our chairman come. The chairman, Tafa local government, Ibrahim Nami. So when they go back, when security shoot one of people, will be say that he did with them for Garaka junction. From there, where they shoot that one boy, after that one, those people, they rush come back to police station, begin to destroy person property and then bomb the police station. That is what we say happened this morning. And then they bomb about 10 cars. Where we say, no, be the police get the car. Now, the video people, where they park the car for their police. That's the thing.
But was anybody killed today?
No, there's one boy where they shoot nine die.
What about inside the police station?
The police is some document with some materials. They burn all of them together. And then nobody died inside police station.
For you as a community member, what do you want government to do?
We need the help of the government to give us a full security, because you know have any we know Garaka now is no safe. Now the criminal people, the kidnapper people now in the food for Garaka. Now we say that they carry people anyhow.
You have heard it clearly from Abdulrazak Usman, who is a member of this community. He says he has stayed in this community for over 30 years and confirms that the security situation at present is nothing to behold. Abdulrazak, like other community members, have made their plea to government. They want increased security presence to stop the wanton kidnapping, which has begun just a few weeks ago. I'm reporting from Guaraka community in Niger State. Amadine Uyi, News Central Television.
Well, joining me for more is Attahiru Olushola. He's the chairman of Angwan Boko community. Good to have you join us. Can you tell us what transpired earlier on, Olushola?
Good evening, and thank you for having me. Recently, we've been facing serious security challenges in Angwan Boko and its environment. Some people, about 6 in number, were kidnapped sometimes in April, and were later released on April 10 after paying some ransom. So unfortunately, our security agencies could not lay hands on the kidnappers, and till now, we are still facing similar challenges. On Wednesday, around 12:30 in the morning, okay, that's Thursday morning, 12:30, I beg your pardon. They came back and we put a call to the military. Unfortunately, 4 of our community members were kidnapped before the arrival of the security agencies. Today, again, they returned. We still have 4 of our community members in their captivity.
You know, Olushola, let me come in here quickly. I understand the situation, how pained you are being the chairman of that community. Is there a contact with families or your organization by the kidnappers? Well, Olushola, if you can hear me, I'm asking if there's been a contact from the kidnappers to any member of those kidnapped.
Can you come again, please?
Has there been contact to families of members of those that have been kidnapped?
Yes, contacts have been made, I heard you clearly. They are demanding for ransom. Initially, they demanded for the total sum from the four of the kidnapped victims. They demanded for 58 million. Later, 2 days later, they reduced it to 23 million. That as of yesterday evening, around 4 p.m. to be precise. So till now, the people, the family, and the community have not been able to raise their demand. As such, our people are still in captivity.
Well, now that the police station has been sacked by, a mob, what is left to, in terms of protection for the people of your community?
I'm sorry to say this, there has never been protection. We resort to calling Zuma Barrack. That's the only place response comes if at all they will arrive on time. As far as Garaka is concerned, the police station, the so-called police station we have there, they are not equipped. The numbers of residents and criminal elements living in the community outnumbers the strength of that police station. So if there's anything that needs to be done, we need more than one police station in Garaka community.
Well, certainly, if I think the numbers will rise, if you need more than one police station, the only left there has been sacked. Quickly here, what form of communication is the community having with the government?
The first point of call in terms of distress should be the police authority. On April 6th or thereabout, when the first set of people were kidnapped, I personally put a call to the state police PRO. Nothing was done, sir.
Well, Lushala, it's really a moment of a lifetime for a lot of people in your community. We'll stay on this. We're hoping that, this gets to the government and as well the security agencies. You stay safe, Lushala.
Thank you for having me.
We'll move on to Central Africa, where a dozen clandestine miners have died when a makeshift gold mine collapsed in the north of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Local media says the accident took place near Bondo in Loa Ule province. Now, it was the latest in a series of mine accidents that have killed around 50 people so far this year. Now, staying in the region, more than 150 children have been separated from their families, and over 170 children are feared to be missing as people fled the city of Goma. Now, this follows a Saturday night's Mount Nyiragongo's eruption in Democratic Republic of the Congo. Thousands of residents from the Democratic Republic of Congo seeking refuge in Rwanda are on their way back home after lava flows from the Mount Nyiragongo volcano stopped. Now, a whole lot of things happening in that axis. So we'll bring you more on that. Now, in the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia's foreign ministry has said it will reassess its relationship with the United States if it continues to meddle in its internal affairs. Now, the foreign ministry was reacting to the United States' decision to impose wide-ranging restrictions on economic and security assistance to Ethiopia over the conflict in the Tigray region. In a statement, it called the decision, which also involved visa restrictions on unnamed officials, regrettable. It, however, said it would not negotiate with Tigray People's Liberation Front, the party that used to govern the northern region. The Foreign Ministry's statement also criticized the timing of the U.S.'s action as the country prepares for the elections on June 21. Now, prosecutors in Sudan have accused a man of being a feared and revered militia leader behind a campaign of deadly raids in the Darfur conflict. Monday's pronouncement comes ahead of the International Criminal Court's first trial linked to the Darfur war. Prosecutors said Ali Muhammad Ali Abdul al-Rahman was also known as Ali Kushaib, who led fighters during the height of the conflict between 2003 and 2004. Al-Rahman is implicated in more than 300 murders and raids that forced 40,000 mainly ethnic Fur civilians from their homes. He's yet to make a plea, though his defense team has argued in earlier legal filings that Abdul Rahman is not the man known as Ali Khushaib, among other arguments. Coming up on the news, scientists in Africa call for improved surveillance in the fight against coronavirus on the continent. Details when the news returns. Stay with us. Now, 3 of South Africa provinces have entered the third wave of COVID-19 pandemic and are seeing a spike in caseloads. Now, the spike comes as the country enters week 2 of its mass vaccination campaign, which hopes to vaccinate about 40 million people by the end of this year. Now, earlier today, Health Minister Zweli Mkhize reported that South Africa had reached more than 1.6 million cases in total and just over 55,000 deaths. He, however, has more on his plate than the rise in COVID-19 numbers. In the last 24 hours, he has been drawn into a corruption scandal where it is understood that his close associates were among a group of businesses that pocketed roughly 90 million rand in suspicious payments from a COVID-19 and National Health Insurance Communications contract. Now, joining me this evening is journalist and editor Candice Bailey. Now, good to see you again, Candice. Can you tell us more about the third wave first, and how different is it to the previous spikes?
Good evening, Suleiman. Evening to your viewers. Not that much of a difference, but we do know that we are heading into a third wave nationally. At the moment, the premiers of 3 provinces have confirmed that they are seeing a spike in cases. They've seen a positivity rate of about 10% at the moment, and that they definitely are in third waves. But the head of our ministerial advisory committee has said that nationally, South Africa will only hit that third wave in about 2 weeks' time. And that's when we will nationally hit a positivity rate, of 10%. What we do know is that on Saturday, our health minister said that we have experienced about 4,200 new cases. And in our second wave, at the peak of our second wave, we were experiencing about 4,600 cases. So it's more or less in the same range, and we are definitely on route to that third wave. There is concern about how we are going to be handling that third wave and how provinces are going to be able to manage.
You know, Candice, is the country looking to having another lockdown?
There definitely is talk of more serious restrictions being introduced in order for us to manage the third wave, Suleiman. What we know is that the health minister himself has confirmed that there have been discussions in government as to how we would increase restrictions to accommodate or to lessen the load during that period. The restrictions that we are talking about will probably be drops in social gatherings, a number of people who can gather, as well as potentially the sale of liquor to be limited or even stopped. We do know that the liquor industry is meeting with the president to discuss how the restrictions on the liquor trade will be handled during the third wave. There's obviously a concern on their end that they will lose their bottom line if the restrictions do get more firm. What's also interesting to note, Suleiman, is that our COGTA minister, Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, is heading to court on Wednesday to defend the lockdown regulations that have been implemented in the past. She does believe that they were valid, and the court has asked her to amend those regulations to make them more amenable for people. So there are lots of developments happening as we speak.
Well, a lot of developments, no doubt. The health minister talking about the corruption case involving some of his associates. Also, the court case coming up against the restriction. Are these affecting the rollout of the vaccines in South Africa at the moment?
Not particularly, no. It looks like the vaccine rollout plan is on track. We do know that 2 provinces have actually managed to increase the number of vaccination sites that they have up and running. So when we started our vaccination program last week, Suleiman, we had 87 sites where you could get vaccines, and we now have close to 100 sites where you can get vaccines. So there's quite a significant move trying to step up that rollout and make sure that more people can get vaccinated. There are some teething problems from what we can see. Limited number of vaccines at sites, people being turned away, having to wait for long hours, and it appears that the government still needs to iron out some of those details and make sure that people are being able to get the vaccines once they get an SMS to say they should attend.
Candice Belly, many thanks for unpacking this for us.
Thanks, Suleiman.
Now, scientists in Africa say the next phase of the COVID-19 fight on the continent should place emphasis on enhanced surveillance and genomic sequencing to help identify new variants and limit the transmission of the virus. Now, the scientists stated this on Monday at a virtual forum organized by the Nairobi-based African Academy of Sciences. The forum was convened to discuss evidence-based interventions to boost COVID-19 response on the continent. Now, senior policymakers and researchers who participated in the forum said Africa should improve on surveillance, diagnosis, and modeling to enhance understanding of the pandemic and its impact on the economy. Now, the World Health Organization has described the ongoing vaccine crisis as a scandalous iniquity. WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus stated this while addressing the World Health Assembly today. Dr. Tedros said more cases have been reported so far this year than in the whole of 2020, adding that with current trends, the number of deaths will overtake last year's total within the next 3 weeks. He was, however, pleased that for 3 consecutive weeks, there's been a downturn in the number of cases and deaths being reported.
No country should assume it's out of the woods, no matter its vaccination rate. So far, no variants have emerged that significantly undermine the efficacy of vaccines, diagnostics, or therapeutics. But there is no guarantee that will remain the case. This virus is changing constantly. Future changes could render our tools ineffective and drag us back to square one. We must be very clear. The pandemic is not over. And it will not be over until and unless transmission is controlled in every last country. More than 75% of all vaccines have been administered in just 10 countries. There is no diplomatic way to say it. A small group of countries that make and buy the majority of the world's vaccines control the fate of the rest of the world.
Now, tens of thousands of displaced Palestinians in Gaza have started returning to their homes following the recent Palestinians and Israeli police clash at Al-Aqsa Mosque a few days ago. Now, while things have started returning to normal in Gaza, the International Muslim Women Union in Nigeria organized a press briefing to sensitize the people on the recent happenings in both countries. News Central's Omolola Ololade has more on this report.
The recent crisis in Palestine has over the years become a cause for concern for nations and religious organizations across Africa and the rest of the world. The International Muslim Women Union in Nigeria, at a press briefing organized by the union, harped on the need to sensitize the people on recent happenings in Palestine and in turn counter the misconceptions surrounding the crisis between the Israelis and the Palestinians.
You hear there's anything going on between Israel and Palestine, there's always this erroneous belief that it's between Islam and Christianity, and it's not. Okay, it's a war, a violence against humanity. And as a woman, Muslim woman organization, we are usually at the receiving end most times, the children. It is high time we all come together as humanity. Now, not talk about Islam or Muslim now, as humans who have blood running in our veins to speak up against this violence.
The Palestinian community in Nigeria commend the efforts of the Nigerian government and the people for their continuous support in the struggle for peace in Palestine.
We have very strong relationship with Nigeria. Nigeria support us and give us so many support as part of United Nations, as part of a scholarship to students to study in Nigeria, as part of a good relationship.
When I remember Yasser Arafat, my eye run away me. Oh.
A Lagos-based Muslim leader, Lakin Akintola, explained that the fight between the Israelis and Palestinians is not a religious fight, but a fight for humanity, while calling on all stakeholders involved to bring an end to the violence happening in both countries.
The Palestinians have been pushed to a small corner of their own land, and strangers have invaded the place. They are destroying their homes. Palestinian children leave home for school without being sure that they will be able to return. The 11-day struggle, the 11-day war now, took the lives of 233 Palestinians, 233 people. Among them were 65 women and children.
The presser came to an end with the union chanting solidarity songs of victory and staying optimistic that the unrest in Palestine come to an end in no time. Omolola Ololade reporting for News Central.
We shall always fight for our right.
Authorities in Italy launch an investigation into Sunday's cable car accident that left 14 people dead. More after the break. Join us again. Now, Italy has launched an investigation into the cause of Sunday's cable car accident that left 14 people dead. The car plunged 20 meters into the side of the Motorone mountain near Lake Maggiore in northern Italy. Rescue officials said it appeared that a cable had snapped and an emergency brake failed. Now, 13 people died at the scene, including a 2-year-old child. Now, 2 other children were taken to hospital, where one later died. And the International Atomic Energy Agency has agreed with Iran to extend by 1 month the necessary verification and monitoring activities carried out by the agency in the country. IAEA Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi made the announcement today at a press conference in Vienna, Austria, after reaching the agreement with the Vice President and head of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, Akbar Salehi. The IAEA director stressed that the temporary understanding is a stopgap measure in the absence of the additional transparency measures that were provided in the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action and the additional protocol. He said it allows the agency to avoid flying blind and losing essential information as negotiations on the program continues. Now, 2 southwestern states in Nigeria have signed an agreement to set up a joint development commission. The agreement between Lagos and Ogun states was signed by the governors Babajide Sanwo-Olu and Dapo Abiodun. Now, during the signing ceremony, Governor Sanwo-Olu of Lagos said the agreement will foster greater relationships and help curb insecurity, drive economic activities, transportation, as well as infrastructural and urban renewal. Now, Tululokwe has more on this.
Welcome to Business on NC Continental Prime. I'm Tululokwe Adileru Balogun. Egypt's Finance Minister Mohamed Mait has announced that wage increases for Egyptian civil servants working in administrative and service roles will be paid in July. He added that the initiative, for which 25 billion Egyptian pounds has been allocated in the current fiscal year's budget, is aimed at helping to improve citizens' living standards. A separate 1.5 billion Egyptian pounds has been allocated for workers transferred to the new administrative capital. Earlier in March, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi ordered that the minimum wage for state employees should be raised by 2,400 Egyptian pounds. That's about $153 from 2,000 Egyptian pounds. He also ordered that state pensions should rise by 13%. At the time, the wage increases were predicted to cause about 37 billion Egyptian pounds, and the pension increase would amount to about 31 billion Egyptian pounds. And staying in Egypt, the country has offered to cut compensation claims from the owner of the impounded Ever Given vessel, which blocked the Suez Canal for 6 days in March, to $550 million to settle the current judicial dispute. The megaship will be allowed to leave if nearly 40% of the sum is paid in cash. Osama Rabi, the Suez Canal Authority head, said the claim for compensation was from $600 million to $550 million after they were made aware of the actual cost of the cargo containers loaded on board. Rabi added that the Suez Canal Authority had first set an initial estimation of the overall cost of the ship's cargo at more than $3 billion. But according to the ship owner, the cargo is worth $775 million. The 400-meter-long ship ran aground across the canal on March 23rd and was refloated 6 days later on the 29th by a fleet of Egyptian tugboats and diggers with some assistance from the tide. The vessel has since been anchored in a lake between two sections of the canal. And from North Africa to the west now, Nigeria's National Bureau of Statistics says that economic activities and by extension, the gross domestic product grew by 0.51% year on year in the first quarter of the year. NBS said this marked 2 consecutive quarters of growth following negative growth rates recorded in the second and third quarters of 2020. Earlier today, we asked the Managing Director, Trust Bank Capital Management, about his predictions for the Central Bank's of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee meeting, which starts today.
That's an interesting one, right? Yeah, I mean, the whole Nigeria is waiting for that. But before I go into that, let's put the last meeting into context. Faced with the dilemma of managing rising inflation and stimulating output, the MPC made the following case at its last meeting. That policy tightening with high cost of capital, ample investment and employment. The MPC also said that while loosening will create excess liquidity, intensify demand pressure on FX market, leading to further currency depreciation. As a result, the MPC opted to do nothing at its last meeting. Since that last meeting, we have seen inflation slow down and GDP continue to positive run. Looking at that, the MPC may be tempted to do nothing again to further consolidate on the gains of its existing position. That said, there's always room for a pleasant surprise. This is the MPC. Yeah, so considering the fact that the first change to MPR last year occurred in May last year, we are in May again this year, so let's wait for that pleasant surprise.
And staying in Nigeria, the country deregulated its downstream oil sector a year ago after the COVID-19 pandemic triggered a collapse in the global price of oil, the country's main export. But the conversation around deregulation and specifically the pump price of petrol has continued to generate conversation and questions. The group's COO, Nest Oil, Dr. Chukweluka Ume, was on today's Business Edge and shared his thoughts.
If we're going to get serious about fixing this country, about fixing the economy, we shouldn't be subsidizing petrol or electricity. The prices should be what they are meant to be to drive the industry. What we should subsidize are things like healthcare, education, things that people actually need. And then we should create an enabling environment for people to be able to create businesses that the states can support so people can make money.
So there's wealth.
Right, because you can keep the price of petrol at 100 naira or even 50 naira. But people still need money to buy it. And a lot of people are out of pocket. Our GDP is dropping. The inflation is rising. And the economy is slowing down. Prices of everything are going up. So whether you peg the petrol price at a low price or not, it doesn't make much of a difference. And think about this at the end of the day. Fuel subsidy, who really benefits from fuel subsidy?
And now to East Africa, where Kenya has cut the budgetary allocation for connecting homes for subsidized power by 685 million Kenyan shillings starting July. This means that homes will be required to pay more to secure the grid connection. Budget estimates tabled in Parliament show that the Treasury has allocated 100 million shillings under the connectivity subsidy, representing an 87% drop from the 785 million shillings allocated in the financial year ending next month. The cut raises fears that consumers will pay more to be connected to the grid, with the increased cost set to hurt the targeted numbers in President Uhuru Kenyatta's last year in office. The connectivity subsidy is meant to cut charges for connecting homes to the national grid under the last mile connectivity. And staying in Kenya, Kenyans living in diaspora have sent home a record amount of money in the month of April, according to data released by the Central Bank of Kenya. Foreign remittances rose to 32.4 billion Kenyan shillings, that is about $299.3 million in April 2021. This was the highest level since the start of the year and a 3% increase from the 31.5 billion Kenyan shillings sent home in March of this year. Kenyans living in the U.S. remain the largest source of foreign remittances to Kenya, followed by those in the UK. Remittances from the U.S. in April amounted to $171.28 million, equivalent to 57% of the total remittances sent to Kenya, while remittances from the UK amounted to $33.13 million. From the African continent, Kenyans living in Tanzania, South Africa, and Uganda were the biggest sources of the diaspora remittances into Kenya. Foreign remittances are a key source of foreign currency for Kenya. In 2019, the country was ranked third among the top 10 remittance recipients in sub-Saharan Africa, behind Nigeria and Ghana. And that's it on NC Continental Prime. My name is Solulokwe Adileru Balogun. There's more news coming your way right here. Do stay with us.
Well, it's now time to check out some of the major trending stories across the continent today. Now, a show of our digital team has more.
It's a brand new week on NC Trends. I am Shion Bankole. If education is the best legacy, are lives to be exchanged in its pursuits? This and more are the questions on the placards of the students of the Federal University of Agriculture at Abeokuta, who have taken over social media space with the hashtag #FreeOurStudents to protest the abduction of their colleague. Olayinka Toyimbo, a 400-level student of aquaculture and fisheries management, was kidnapped alongside others yesterday by suspected gunmen in Odeda area of Ogun State, Nigeria. Reports have it that the incident happened on a private farm where he has lived and worked as a livestock farmer in the past 3 years. Now wait for it. The kidnappers have made a 50 million naira ransom demand for Olayinka and the other kidnapped victims, and FUNAB students are not having any of it. Let's check out some of their comments on Twitter. At FUNAB_SUG says, share it is until they kidnap all of us before something is done. Hashtag free our students, hashtag free Nathaniel Olayinka, hashtag free Funabite. Moving on to the next tweet, Oluwadamlola Adepojo says, if education is the best legacy, why are we to exchange our lives for it? I mean though, if education is the best legacy, why is our government opening us to threats? Nathaniel Olayinka is a 400-level student of the Department of AQFM FUNAB. Hashtag free our students. Finally on that, we have this tweet from Tosin, who says that security of lives and properties should be the primary aim of any sane government. For how long are we going to keep living in this fear of being kidnapped? Nigerian government needs to do better at all levels. Hashtag free our students. There are reports that the Electronic Vaccination Data System, EVDS, created to vaccinate South African health workers and citizens who are 60 years and above, has not been without its fair share of hiccups. First, people got the notifications on short notice, making many of them unable to make the appointment. Then, some people were turned away because vaccinators had not been informed that they were booked for appointment. Wait, what? And that has been blamed on a glitch in the system. Now, this has led to various reactions and questions on social media with the hashtag vaccine rollout SA. Let's check some reactions online. Gideon Duvin Hage, I hope I got that right, says, at Cyril Ramaphosa, hi sir, could you please take some time out of your schedule to address the nation? Just discuss some important stuff. It feels like you only talk to us every time the has hit the fan. Hashtag vaccine rollout SA. Moving on to the next tweet. Executive Mayor Randall Williams says, just got vaccinated and I'd like to call on everyone who is eligible to register for vaccinations at this stage to please do so. Hashtag vaccine rollout SA. Now that's someone who was lucky enough to get vaccinated. At Positive Vibes ZA says, the hardest paying COVID cost was the lives it took. The vaccine gives us and our leaders a stronger chance to fight the virus. Register everyone you know over 60 for the vaccine and help them live beyond the pandemic. Hashtag vaccine rollout SA. Finally, we move away from that to Zimbabwe, where hashtag register to vote ZW is trending to motivate youth to register to vote at the upcoming elections, reminding them that their votes count and they should use the vote to change their lives. Let's check some tweets on that topic. Tanya Muzinda tweeted, a few successful people in the middle of millions of poor youth is not a true success story. I agree with that. It's a fraud. Youth don't need miracle money and handouts. They need a working economy where systems work for everyone. Youth fight for your own success, not for clowns. Hashtag register to vote ZW. Moving away from that, we have the tweets from CZG Official, who says, let us take a few more minutes of our time and register for the 2023 elections. We are the ones that can only determine the Zimbabwe that we want. Let your choice be heard. Remember, every vote counts. Now, that's a message to every Zimbabwean youth out there. Every vote counts. Hashtag register to vote ZW. Finally, on that, we have this tweet from @Lisa_NCube. In the 2023 election, the youth will decide who is the next leader. We are the majority. We have the power to remove the dictator. All right, weigh in on any of these topics and point us in the direction of new ones by tweeting at New Central TV using the hashtag NCTrends. That's all for today. I'll see you next time.
Well, just when I'm getting in the mix, it's all over. Well, you can keep the conversation, up and running on Twitter. Now, in sports tonight, a former race driver, lawyer, and administrator of motorsport has died. Now, Udoka Unjoku has the rest of the details.
And in sports, Max Mosley, the former president of Motorsports World Governing Body, the FIA, has died aged 81. His death was announced by ex-Formula One Supremo Benny Ecclestone on Monday, and Mosley became FIA president in 1993 after serving in previous administrative roles in motorsports, including within Formula One. Now, he served 3 terms as president before standing down in 2009, and Mosley has been suffering from cancer, and was one of the sons of 1930s British fascist leader Oswald Mosley. In other sports, ahead of the Summer Olympic Games, Nigerian athletes gathered at the sports complex of Yaba College of Technology for the inaugural AFN Making of Champions Invitational Tournament.
The inaugural Athletics Federation of Nigeria Making of Champions Invitational, held at the Yaba College of Technology Sports Complex, saw athletes show up in the wet and cold conditions to compete, with some seeking Olympic qualification time. And even if the times weren't as fast as they would have wanted, some of the participants had something to cheer about at the end of the day. Nigerian high jumper Mike Edwards returned to winning ways after settling for bronze at the last outing at Edo 2020 National Sports Festival.
So today was a little bit of relief. I knew I was capable. I knew I was very capable. But sometimes when you go so long without doing something that was quite routine, doubt starts to creep into you, and you start thinking, what's going on in my training? I switched a few things around. So today to walk away injury-free, have a season's best, and I want to say almost 10 centimeters higher than my last competition. It's not a bad day.
Ese Awusa stormed to a new personal best of 24.32 seconds in her fourth race of the day, making her the fastest woman across all 200 meters heats.
Yes. I wasn't really expecting a PB, because I really wasn't expecting a PB, and my former time was 24.8. So it was a huge cut from the former time. So I think next I'll aim for 23.
Miracle Thompson ran a good race in the women's 100 meters hurdles to emerge a clear winner at a time of 13.88 seconds.
I feel good. At least I did a 13.90. Although the time wasn't what I was expecting, but all thanks to God, I feel good. I'm grateful.
Alaba Akitola, who's the reigning 200 meters National Sports Festival champion, won his heat in 10.49 seconds, and he improved on his time, clocking 10.31 seconds after the men's 100 meters final A was retaken due to some technical hitch.
The expectation coming here, the intention was to do a better time in the 200 meters because that's my major, but I just asked to use 100 meters to open up. And thank God for the results. Very close to my personal best and injury-free race. Because I'm grateful.
Deji Aliyu, a former Nigerian sprinter, spoke about the youngsters and how to better the sport.
Well, they are trying, but like I always say, they need to do more. They can still do better than what they are doing right now. All they need is all the necessary support and encouragement. And I think if we give them the necessary support and the encouragement, I'm very sure they will do more than we did. Yeah, they need to do more, and I'm still hopeful because looking around, honestly, a lot of talent I see around. All they need is just somebody to harness them and nurture them to greater heights. We are not doing enough. I know we are not doing anything at all, if I have to be honest. If you talk about doing enough, that means we are doing something. But the truth is we are not doing anything. If I have to be honest with you, during my days, we have the under 15, we have the all Nigerian secondary school games, we have the under 20, we have the under 23, so we have a lot of competition to get the athletes busy. But right now, I mean, the under 15 is no longer in existence. The school sport, I can't even remember the last time they did all Nigerian secondary school games. So all those competitions that would have helped us to harness, they are not there. So, I mean, grassroots, as far as I'm concerned, in Nigeria, is neither here or there.
Well, we keep talking about grassroots, and we expect that we'll get to discover these young talents from grassroots and help them harness the talents and become world beaters. Well, that's the best we can take on Sports Update. I hand over to Sulai.
Well, many thanks, Udoka. Now it's time to look at what the weather will be like across the continent tomorrow. That's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. An angry mob has set a police station ablaze after a protester was shot in Niger's northwestern state of Niger. 12 miners have died following the collapse of a makeshift gold mine north of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Finally, we told you that African scientists have called for improved surveillance in the continent's fight against COVID-19. You can follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can also download our mobile app on App Store and Play Store. You can also watch the News Central live on Star Times, channels 274, Avio TV, channel 23, and live on YouTube, and as well as all the social media platforms. I'm Sulaiman. Later, many thanks for watching.